Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberia Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today, and I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Well, today's is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a professional basketball coach. Do you have any idea what a basketball coach does? Well, I think I have an idea, but just to be sure, let's find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Scott Fields.
I appreciate you, Tiberius. Thanks for having me, my man.
Well, thank you for being on the show, actually.
You got it, man. I'm all excited for this. You do a great job. Love your energy, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun for our viewers.
Sweet. Okay, so you are listed as a professional basketball coach. Can you explain to my listeners exactly what does that mean?
A professional basketball coach. I am basically a guy who eats, sleeps, dreams, everything basketball 24/7. It's 365 days a year. I'm always trying to hone my craft to put myself in a position to grow and evolve to help basketball players up their market value, work on their skill sets, develop on and off the court. So for me, this is more than a passion. This is absolutely a purpose in my life.
Okay, so what is the difference from a professional coach and a normal coach?
You know, there's a lot of coaches that coach basketball at the youth level, the grassroots level. You'll find elementary coaches. You'll find some at the grade school level, junior high level, high school level. There's the collegiate level that I coached at for 14 seasons, and then also professionally for 15 seasons, where I also coached in the NBA for a short time. So I've been blessed and humbled that I've coached at multiple levels, and I've been able to inspire and instill confidence with my players to believe in their skill sets so they can perform at their ultimate level.
Okay, so how did you get started in the coaching field?
Great question. I actually grew up in the state of Indiana, where, matter of fact, just last week, I went back to Indiana and I was inducted into the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame. Boom. That way you can see that ring if you want to. So I grew up in a state that is very passionate about basketball. And I think that instilled into me that I always knew when my playing days were done, I wanted to give back to the game and be an ambassador and help others on their journey and create pathways to success so they could use it as a tool to possibly either obtain an education, full ride, or increase their market value where they could create a livelihood for themselves and take care of their families and give back to their communities in a positive way.
Oh, I see. Well, did you always love basketball?
Always. I was a multi-sport athlete in high school, or matter of fact, I've set school records in track. I started as a quarterback in high school all 4 years, but there was something about Indiana and the passion of basketball in Indiana that instilled something in me that became a part of my core. And I always knew that the game of basketball was special. I love the speed of the game. I love the action and reaction of the game. I enjoy working with the highest level skilled players around the globe, where we won multiple championships as a head coach. We were blessed to have near a 780 win percentage with our multiple championships. But I've also worked with Hall of Fame coaches, Coach Jerry Sloan, that was with the Utah Jazz. And I was fortunate to coach a young Steph Curry when he was just a rookie at the NBA Summer League with those Golden State Warriors. And we all see how that man transformed the game and is now the NBA's all-time leader in three-point field goals made.
Holy cow. Well, is it harder to learn to play basketball or to teach someone else to play it?
You know, I think that's a great question. I think successful coaches are outstanding communicators, but we're also active listeners, where we actually build the trust and confidence and have that rapport with our athletes. So for me, I think it was more innate because I always had an analytical mind. I can remember being in high school and I would take coasters off the copy table and I would sit there and diagram and kind of create things and analyze why plays worked and why they didn't
Oh.
work. So I figured if I was able to break down and find out how and why and focus on details and be able to effectively communicate roles and responsibilities and get people to buy into that, I think that's how we were so blessed and fortunate to have had so much success as a coach.
Oh, okay. So, how long have you been working as a basketball coach?
I actually started coaching at a very young age. I earned a scholarship, as I mentioned, down in the state of North Carolina, but I took an oral polio vaccine that caused my immune system to go awry, and that immediately ended my playing career. So I went from a high school Hall of Fame athlete to a guy who was bedfast for 9 months. I had multiple
Oh,
surgeries, but
goodness.
I always knew I wanted to give back to the game. And I always knew that maybe I could find a way and use coaching as a career path. So I spent a lot of time and I would do a lot of reading. I would do a lot of research with watching basketball. I would try to travel the country and get with the best college coaches I could link with to pick their brains and learn from them and found out how they were successful. And the common theme that always came back was to be yourself, have your own personality, but yet develop a philosophy and style, and then find players that fit that philosophy and style. So that way they didn't have to be robots and they could showcase their skill sets at a very high level.
Holy cow. That's great advice, actually. But what is the best part about being a basketball coach?
The relationships. The relationships you build with your athletes. I think so many young coaches have an ego and they think it's about them as a coach. It's not. It's about your players and how you can articulate roles and responsibilities to make them the best players and instill that confidence and make it about
I
them.
see,
You know,
I
there's a
see.
there's a saying that says it's not about the X and O's, it's about the Jims and Joes. For me, it's the same
Mm,
thing. Through my social media, I still stay in contact with all my former players. Some of
yeah.
them are now coaches, some of them are now front office executives. And
Wow.
to see them use the game to continue to give to their communities and also help, uh, you know, create a path for a livelihood to provide for their families, buy their homes, start other businesses, invest in other companies. I think that's a glorious and humbling thing.
Yeah, wow. Well, here's just like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
The Tiberia Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius.
sent you.
And we are back here talking with Scott Fields. Scott has worked with basketball players all over the world, and he runs a podcast, like me. Okay, so, Scott, it says that you coached NBA players as well as international players. Well, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I've been very blessed that I've been able to work with some of the best players around the globe. I've coached current and former NBA players. I've coached many of Europe's and South America's and Asia's top players. I can remember coaching who was probably the top Asian player outside of Yao Ming when he was the number one draft pick by the Houston Rockets by the name of Fatih Khatib from Beirut, Lebanon. Just an extremely, incredibly talented young man. And I think of,
Ah,
Manu Ginobili, who played, for the Spurs and also won championships with his home country of Argentina.
wow.
The list goes on and on about several of the international players who have come over at you see now, you know, dominating the NBA. Think of Luka
Yeah.
Doncic with the Dallas Mavericks. I think of, Pau Gasol, who was a teammate of Kobe Bryant's. So I see an influx of inter European talent that actually helps elevate the game. the European players are very hardworking. They got a great work ethic. They're very cerebral because a lot of those gentlemen have played professional basketball at a very young age, and they have a club system. And that club system helps develop the fundamentals, the ball mastery, the ball handling, the passing, the shooting skills, and the fact that they work so hard and they're not entitled. I think that gives the Europeans a great chance to catch up with the Americans, because we as Americans, we try to capitalize everything with money and with endorsements. And at the grassroots level, I don't think we focus enough as American players on the fundamentals of the game.
Ah, I see. So since you've worked all over the world, what is that one place that you will never forget?
I've had some amazing experiences. Beirut, Lebanon, believe it or not, was a beautiful country. Our gym was located right on the Mediterranean Sea. It was just very competitive. We were the top 16 in the world at
Oh,
that time.
wow.
And I think of their gym kind of like Cameron Indoor, like Duke University, where the gym is packed and everybody is singing and dancing and chanting. And it was one
Ah,
of those environments that just reminded me so much of where I grew up in Indiana, because in Indiana, the whole communities would shut down and come support those high school gyms on a Friday and Saturday night. And Beirut, Lebanon felt like that because they were very passionate fans about the game. To win a championship in that country, where it was Muslims versus Christians, where it was the prime minister versus the president, and you had a 7-time reigning champion going against my club, and we won
holy
the
cow.
championship, being bounced around on everybody's shoulders for 3 hours like a beach ball was an experience I'll never forget. I can't wait to put that in a book soon.
Ha. Now, my dad said that you have your own podcast. Well, can you tell me about all of this about?
You know what? Our podcast has been very successful. I'm very blessed that I was able to work with a broadcast agent. And because of the success and the big name guests that come on our show, we get streamed on 3 TV platforms. So we're on DBTV, CSTV. We're also on the Rewind Sports 60. And I feel humbled that people are able to consume our show. And I also, of course, have a YouTube channel where people can go and subscribe for fee and pick up that content with these intense conversations where we pull the curtain back and you are allowed to connect with NBA players, NBA Hall of Fame players, NBA All-Stars, front office executives, award-winning journalists.
Holy
Even
cow.
even we had some guys who are Hollywood actors who are big names. I had Silk Kozart on, and he was one of the characters in the original White Man Can't Jump, who's now a producer and director. So to hear all these
Oh.
insights, I think about Jimmy Morris, who the Disney movie The Rookie was made about. I had him on a guest. I had the wrestler from Vision Quest, a popular movie before you were born in the 80s, come on as a guest. I've had Olympic swimmers come on. I'm about to put the heavyweight boxing champ of the world on. I'm having Major League Baseball players. So hopefully the viewers of our show are able to connect and be inspired and be empowered by the journeys of these successful people, because I truly believe
Ah.
that one person candle does not go out by igniting another candle. So I hope people are
Mm.
inspired and empowered with the tools for their toolbox so they too can obtain the same high levels of success.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the best way to listen or watch your podcast?
You know, a lot of people can go to our YouTube channel. We also stream it live on our Facebook Live page. It's just the Coach Scott Field Show. And we get a lot of positive feedback. I know our subscribers aren't real high. I think we're a little more than 400. But the fact that we're consumed on 3 TV platforms is just so puts me in awe. And I think the reason we gained so many viewers around the globe was during COVID. I think I think guests were looking for some sort of respite, and they still wanted some sort of
Mm.
sports entertainment. And I brought our guest on, and I think it filled that void for our viewers. And I feel blessed that we still have, great support that has continued even after, post pandemic.
Ah. Now, do you have any advice for someone like me that wants to get into broadcasting?
I love what you're doing. You have energy, you have personality. I can tell you have fun. I can tell you've done your research to ask the appropriate questions. I see big things for your future. I see you probably working with a network one day just because of that personality that you have. So, as long as you can be yourself, have fun, do your research, have preparation, and have fun with it the way you do, my man, big things are happening for you, brother.
Mm-hmm. Now, what made you decide to become a broadcaster?
I think it was just to allow me to scratch an itch when I didn't have my own team. So for me, it was just natural for me to have close friends come on and share their stories and give content that you wouldn't see on a major network like an ESPN or a Fox Sports or any major network where a lot of people go on for their content. My show gets behind the scenes and really connect. I mean, a head coach in the NBA talking about his relationship with his family, and he couldn't wait to get home off the road just so he could sit by the bed and pray with his son. You don't hear that stuff on ESPN.
Now, what is the hardest part about being a professional basketball coach?
You know, to me, it's not work. So I don't think there is a hard part. I think it's giving the same energy and keeping the same enthusiasm 24 hours a day because we put in extremely long hours. So keeping that energy level high because there's going to be highs and lows and trials and tribulations throughout a marathon season. And if you can stay consistent as a coach, then hopefully that will also elevate the expectations and raise the ceiling for your players. So if you're able to do that with your communication style and with your rapport and your communication, I think great things, you'll continue to have success. But you have to have those connections with your players, just like you have a connection with your viewers as a broadcaster.
Okay, so what are some of the largest issues that are currently affecting the sport of basketball?
I think some people um, watch it as entertainment value, but sometimes I think too that mainstream America are a little bit turned off by the high salaries and maybe some of the attitudes of some of the players wanting more money on contracts. And I think that kind of sets people back a little bit. I think sometimes too, there could be political agendas that are being out there or being on the forefront that also kind of turns off the viewers who are there for sports entertainment value. So I think every once in a while there are obstacles like that overcome, but as long as they can appreciate the art form, the skill sets, and the technical and tactical aspects of it. If I'm a viewer of a game, I'm like watching a chess match. I want to see what adjustments are being made during the game and between games, especially in the playoffs. Because to me, sometimes not the best team doesn't always win, but also a very savvy coach who is able to put their team in a position to be successful is fun for me to watch. And I enjoy that. So for me,
Ah.
a lot of people go to the game and see the entertainment value. Me, I'm watching all those small details behind the scenes to see why teams are playing well and how it's being affected. It's chess to
Mm-hmm.
me when everybody else is playing checkers.
Mm-hmm. Now, does it take a lot of training to be able to become a coach?
You have to have an education. If you want to coach at the college level, it's best that you have a college degree. So that way you can go in and be a full time coach at the college level. So I think that's a requirement. But I think it's also important too to have a strong network. Let people know of your aspirations. Let them know what type of asset that you're going to bring to a franchise. You can't forget a franchise is paying millions of dollars for their athletes. So you have to bring value to that franchise, whether you are a defensive specialist, maybe you are a skill development specialist, maybe you are outstanding at the offensive end, but bring value to a franchise so that way you have a diversified portfolio and you as a coach have a distinct brand of how your teams or how your players will play and what they can count on the court,
Oh.
either a go-to move or a counter move. Have that brand and have that quality and outwork and out prepare everybody else.
Ah. So, does it cost a lot to get into this business?
It's all about an investment in your time, an investment and focus on growing and evolving. Because once you stop growing, you're dead. So you have to, if there are changes within the rules, changes within the game, you have to adapt to that. Right now, college sports and coaching are adapting because of the NIL. And because of that, that changes the way that you're able to recruit or the level of players that you have to recruit. So coaching at all levels, there's always going to be obstacles, and you have to learn your craft, and you have to make sure you have the ability to sell your athlete on what you're able to do for them. So for me, it's continual growth, it's investing in your time, and it's learning your skill and your craft and being the best at what you do.
Okay. Well, what is the craziest thing that has happened while you were doing your passion?
I can't call it crazy, but I think we as coaches we're so competitive that sometimes it's not always the championships and the victories that you remember, but we hold on to the losses where you lose on a three-quarter court, full court shot at a buzzer beater. Those things sometimes are hard to swallow and hard to accept. So for me, overcoming tough losses when you've prepared and done everything well, or if you get a bad call from a referee that costs you a game, because as that's a tangible as a coach you have no control over, and sometimes that can be frustrating and cause you to be follically challenged like I am.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to work as a basketball coach, what's the first thing they should do?
Learn as much about the game as possible. You don't have to be a former player, but you have to study the game. You have to know the fundamentals. You have to be very educated at your craft. And if you invest that time and make sacrifices and stay focused on what your goals and objectives are, and you block out the haters and the people who tell you you can't make it, stay focused on your goal and surround yourself with a support system and use your resources and references and network to help you get to where you want to go. Learn from the greats. I think it's a great lesson. As players, you always get on the court to find a court where there's somebody better than you to make you better, to get out of your comfort zone. You must do the same thing as a coach. Get out and learn from the greatest minds, pick their brain and be a pirate and use it for your philosophy.
So who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
I had a college coach who was also from my home state of Indiana, who kind of threw me a life jacket when I was going through some health issues with that oral polio vaccine that I took clear back in 1986 that caused me to be bedfast. Him knowing that I wanted to get into coaching, he was the mentor who allowed me the first opportunity to prove what I could do. Then I was just lucky and blessed that I climbed that ladder, and we had multiple nationally ranked college programs. And then at the young age of 25, I was a head coach professionally in Europe. And I took that
Ah.
skill set, I took that passion, and I applied our philosophy. And I found the right players to fit our philosophy. And then we carved a niche for ourselves. And then each step that I took was either for personal growth, it might have been for financial growth or opportunity, but I always made sure I made a good decision by doing my due diligence, by researching what types of resources were going to be there for us to be successful.
Well, what advice would you give to my listeners if they wanted to grow up and be a basketball coach?
Immerse yourself in the game. If you're a former player and the play-in day's in for you one day, learn as much about teaching the game and being able to communicate and demonstrate on what you want done. If you're able to teach and communicate and lead, guide, and direct, being a mentor on the floor and being someone of value and trust to your players, you can climb the ladder very quickly. You have to, do your due diligence, put in your time, make the sacrifices, and don't be afraid to take a risk. Some jobs don't fit everybody, and it's not the job that makes the coach. The coach takes the job and the opportunity and makes that job better than what he found it.
Okay, so what's the best advice you've ever received and who gave you that advice?
I've been so lucky that so many quality coaches were able to be brutally honest with me throughout my journey. So when I started off young, they were like, hey, be a great recruiter, be able to go into a home and sell your program, sell yourself, sell the institution. And then at the professional level, it was sell a style of play and philosophy that would fit that athlete so he could showcase his skills to up his market value. So there's a lot of sales, there's a lot of psychology, there's a lot of mental toughness that you have to endure, because don't forget, you're not just taking care of yourself, you're taking care of a team, an institution, a community. You're creating an entertainment product, and that's going to have value to that community, and you want people to join in to be a part of what you're growing. Again, it's a brand, it's a style, it's a personality. There's so many parts of it. And if you're not strong at some things, bring in assistants who are strong at what you're weak at, and get out of the way and let them do what they do well. That's how you'll grow in this business. But build trust and build rapport. Don't don't give fluff. Great players want to be coached. They want to be challenged. They want to be held accountable. And if you're a great coach, they will hold on to your every word because they know they can help you. I think of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant wanted to be the next Michael Jordan so bad. So what did he do? He hired Michael Jordan's personal trainer. He got Michael Jordan's former coach and coaching staff so he could learn what he did to make himself the best ever, to make the game grow globally. And then Kobe Bryant, with that Mamba mentality, stole from the minds that Michael Jordan learned from, so he too could be one of the greatest players to ever lace him up and play this game. And I think that's great advice for someone trying to learn and grow and be the best at whatever industry they're in, whether you're a broadcaster, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, CEO, or if you're a ditch digger. Learn from the best, and then you become the next best.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills. And we are back here with amazing coach, podcaster, and award-winning speaker, Scott Fields. Okay, so, Scott, it says here that you were inducted to the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame. Can you tell me more about that?
I'm extremely honored and humbled to be recognized for achievements of your past. But for me, I have such a servant heart, and I believe in servant leadership, that I want to continue to develop players. I want to continue to impact communities. So it's honor and a humbling experience to be recognized in such an elite class, because I think of the other names of individuals that have been inducted into the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame, and I look around and I'm like, either they lowered their standards to get me in, or I'm extremely honored to have my name mentioned in the same breath as some of those amazing accomplishment and achievers and leaders in the sports industry.
Now, on your podcast, you were able to find all sorts of famous basketball stars and celebrities to be on your show. Well, how did you get them?
That's through relationships. It's meeting and being around people, and people knowing who I was and knowing that they could trust me and come onto the show and be a guest and share insights and content. So a lot of that is from personal relationships. I had a few guests of people who only knew of me but didn't know me personally. I think of Charles Oakley, who was with the New York Knicks for years, was Michael Jordan's teammate. I think of Kenny Anderson, who was a high draft pick, also from the East Coast. So I've been just very blessed, and I think word of mouth of other celebrities saying, hey, I was on with the coach. He was first class. He was outstanding. You can trust him. I think that went a long way for us. So again, extremely honored and humbled to have that level of guest on our show.
I see. Now, I interviewed the captain of the Jamaican bobsled team. Well, how can I get more famous people on my show?
I think the more that you're out there and the more awareness of people who get to know and meet you, and then that way we can be references for you. You can be like, hey, I had Coach Scott Fields on the show. You can talk to, and then next thing you know, it becomes a networking. It becomes a snowball, and then more people get to build awareness to you and your style and your personality, I do see big things happening for you here in the near future.
Ah, I see. Well, do you know anyone I should interview next?
Oh my gosh, there's such a great list. It depends on what you want from that guest. There are great speakers, there are great journalists, there are outstanding civil leaders that have great stories to share with how they impact communities and how they use their service leadership. There's outstanding athletes. There are phenomenal business leaders. There are phenomenal people in the communities that can tell amazing stories that people will connect with. So that list would be so large, and I'm excited to see your growth and how you evolve as a broadcaster because I love what you're doing.
Well, if you could go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
Continue to have fun, continue to serve, live, love, and inspire. That to me, if you're able to get out there and impact lives and help change the trajectory of somebody's life, there's no better gratification in the world to know that you've helped somebody else on their path and in their journey. Create those pathways to help them elevate to successful levels.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is the biggest mistake that you have ever made, and how did it change you as a
Oh,
person?
you know what? That's a great question because in life, we all make mistakes to make sure that you learn from that mistake and you don't repeat the mistake. Trust me, there's going to be trials, there's going to be tribulations, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be pitfalls, and it's your mindset. How mindful are you to make those educational and learning experiences for your own personal growth? But you can't let one mistake turn into two, and you definitely can't dwell on the past. If you fail, fail forward.
I see. Okay, so what is your favorite book to read?
I love to read books about coaches. I love to get into their mindset. I love to see their strategies. I love to see their personalities. I love to read about their brand. I like to learn what made them successful. So I have a whole bunch of books. A lot of the books behind me right now are from guests of my show, but I just enjoy reading about sports figures because a lot of those have very similar journeys to their careers and to their
Huh.
success. So for me, I enjoy reading to learn from others. So that way I don't make the mistake that they made, or I take something from their personality and style to see if I can incorporate it with what I'm doing and how I do it.
Ah, I see. So, do you play video games? And if you do, what is your favorite one?
I got to be honest. If I played a video game against my adopted son, he would just crush me. So trust me, I stay in my lane and do what I do well. I don't have a lot of time for those things
You
because
don't
I
play
put
video games on your phone even? Like,
I don't play games on my phone. I don't.
huh. Okay, okay. Can you tell me that one story? You know, remember, this is a kid's show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
I don't know what that would be. I always tried to be, I tried to have a lot of foresight and learn from others. So I can't really think of a situation where I got in trouble, or maybe when I was in third grade and I held hands with a girl during a movie and I had to write 500 sentences. I will not hold hands while while watching a movie when I was in fifth grade. I guess that's the first thing that pops in my head.
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
I guess just my passion for life. I'm very consistent. This is me on and off the camera. This is just kind of how I live my life. I'm high energy, I'm enthusiastic, and I think that you can inflict your will through your personality. And if you're able to impose your will as a coach, as an educator, as a business leader, I think you can create a culture through daily habits, through your actions. And I try to lead with my actions every day, but yet back it up with words and support to help them so they can be future leaders. I don't think a leader should be somebody who tries to gain followers. I think a leader is somebody who develops future leaders.
Okay. Well, do you have a Facebook or website for my listeners to follow you?
I do. I'm actually on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I actually have a Twitter. I'm on Thread. Well, I guess it's X now. So yes, I have a lot of social media platforms that people are able to kind of see my content daily. My show is on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube, and we're on those 3 TV networks that we talked about earlier.
Okay, now what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
I think you've done a phenomenal job. I think you've done your prep work. You did your due diligence. I think you did amazing, and I've had so much
Thank
fun
you.
with this interaction. I would love to come back and do it again. That's how good you are.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Let's do some math, baby.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
Tiberius's favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, Scott, for helping me with Math Corners. And this week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. And today, we're going to talk about voting. Ooh, okay.
I'm terrible at math. I hated math. At least I do stats for basketball, how many shots are made. But other than that, geometry, trig, calculus, oh boy.
Well, the students in Jackie's grade voted to select a guest speaker. 42 students voted for a famous basketball player. Well, if there are 70 students in Jackie's grade, what percentage of the students voted for the athlete? Well, first, it's a real problem because we do know that people do like basketball players. So, let's get into it.
Oh my gosh. All of them.
Okay, so to solve this first, you have to find the proportion of the whole. So the whole class is 70 students, and that represents 100%. Now, if you take that part, which is the 42, and divide that by the whole, which is 70, then that would be equal to the percentage over 100. Well, then you'd have to solve it, so you'd solve the proportion. Now, you would take the 42 and times that by 100, and you get 4,200. And then you divide that by 70. Well, it would be faster if you take away one of the zeros, because 0 cancels with 0. So you would do 420 divided by 7. So that 7 goes into 42 6 times when you add the 0, and then you get 60. So 60% of the class voted for a famous basketball player. I wonder who they picked.
That's over my bald head, my man. You're spitting out numbers so fast. That's beautiful.
Okay, so, Scott, when you were a kid, did you ever just get to vote on guest speakers, or did you just listen to whomever the school put on the stage?
Whoever the school put on the stage.
Yeah, I'd have to. Now, Scott, my teacher said that I would use math every day. Well, how do you use math in your work?
There's a lot of stats that go along with, how many possessions we have, how many, shots we make from different areas and different zones on the floor. So there's a lot of stats and statistical analysis that goes into it. But again, to me, I don't put as much focus on the analytics as I do preparing the mind, the heart, and the spirit to get results that we want and, positive outcomes on the court.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Scott, for your help with Math Corners.
You got it, man.
And now it's time for the Heart of the Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of the Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. Well, this week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. So, this week, I was talking with my teacher, Mr. Eastwood. I learned that he runs the youth outreach program at the local church. So that means that after he's done working at the school, he does more work to help teens after school. That's like double work. Well, he really has a passion for sharing the worldview of the Bible and helping students and non-students through programs. Well, this is providing a positive influence on others and providing guidance and direction. He's always so much fun to talk to and exhibits great leadership. So, Scott, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
100%. I love the acronym, the leadership, the obedience, the integrity. I feel like all leaders must have that integrity, and you have to have those core values and stand firm for those beliefs. You may not have everybody agree with you, but if you stand firm for your beliefs, positive things will happen, because eventually that will cause a ripple effect and other people may be able to see and observe that. So to me, that integrity is a vital piece of that. I try to live that every day.
Yeah. Well, we should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Let that lion roar, baby. Let that lion roar.
And that's our show, folks. I'm going to thank the one, the only, the amazing Scott Fields for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about being a basketball coach and about your podcast.
I am so grateful. Love what you're doing, my man. You bring it. Absolutely bring it.
Well, do you mind giving me your social media and website again?
You can find me at CoachScottFields.com. You can find me at multiple, YouTube channels, The Coach Scott Fields Show. Find me on Instagram, Coach Scott Fields. I'm everywhere. So I'll reach out. I'll correspond. I'll interact. If there's anything that I can do to further help you, my man, go get it. Lionheart. I like that.
Sweet. And also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, Canada NC98, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Way TV, and all the other stations that air on my show. Please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Scott, have you subscribed yet?
I'm about to do it.
Sweet.
Right now.
Oh, and leave a comment if you wanted to get into being an athletic coach. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.